You are in for such a treat because I'm going to introduce you to a good friend of mine who is so talented. She can give you classical theater truth, but then she could put a little hot sauce on it. You know what I'm talking about. From Orange is the New Black, here is Danielle Brooks. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Actually, I know she's doing great because we were backstage, and I just nearly ripped those shoes off her feet. You know I did.
I am having so much fun in these shoes. I'm like,
They are. Honey, you missed a photo shoot.
Yes.
You missed a photo shoot. It was good. It was good, y'all.
Yeah.
So how'd y'all enjoy the episode you watched just now?
Thank you.
Yeah?
Can y'all hear me? You can hear me.
Gave you all the feels, all the drama? Well, Danielle.
Yes.
How have you changed in the time that you have been doing this show? We're gonna tip back, but I want to first start in the present with you. I want to talk about where you feel like you are and how you feel like you've grown into this wonderful kind of entity, diva you've become.
You think I'm a diva?
In a good way.
I'll take the good way.
Yes, honey.
I have changed. You know, it took me a minute, Larry, to accept that I had changed because a lot of people don't like for people to change. You know, a lot of people like you to stay complacent, and especially your friends who are now seeing you in a different way. They would say, Danielle, you've changed. And I'm like, no, I haven't. I'm the same Danielle. And then I realized, no, I actually have. A lot of things have shifted in my life. You know, my circle has shifted. Where I live has shifted. The people that I work with have shifted. The way I think has shifted. And that's okay. So it took me a while to get to that place. How have I changed? I feel like my spirit is still the same. I feel like that is still intact. I'm still the silly Danny that will keep it 100 all the way, you know? But I feel like my work ethic has gotten stronger. I have learned how to listen better and be quiet sometimes and when to speak. I think for a long time, I had this idea of the type of actor, the type of person that I wanted to be. And I tried to fit into that mold. And then I realized it's actually better to just be myself.
Well, the thing I've noticed, because I interviewed you for the first time on my radio show about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were all of this deliciousness, but what you are tonight when I saw you is confident. And that's something that only comes when you are trusting that you are where you need to be.
I received that.
So when did you know that you are where you need to be, when you could breathe into it? Because that's one thing that we have a room full of folks who aspire to be in that place of success in whatever form the rest of the world views it. But the real success is when you feel still enough to breathe and allow yourself. So this is what they have all their questions, and we're going to get to them. But this is what the children need to hear today, is how you find the calm to find and feel and hear your confidence.
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, some of it does come from validation. But I feel like it's stronger when you've been able to validate yourself. And so what I mean by that is I am a type of person that's an overachiever, right? I want to be able to be nominated for this and nominated for that, or get in this movie and do this and da-da-da. And sometimes I feel like my confidence dwindles when I don't get to whatever level that I want to get to, right? But then I have to shift what the meaning of success is for myself and really get down to what's the important part of what I do.
So what is, let me interrupt you there. What is tonight? On this night we're sitting in this beautiful room with all these beautiful people. What is your definition of success tonight?
My definition of success tonight, and I like that because it always does shift.
It has to change. It'll be different tomorrow.
Tonight is being present and being myself. Not worrying about, am I saying the perfect right thing? That tonight is success for me. That's what it is tonight.
So tell me something, because I remember the first time we talked, the thing that was most fascinating to me, because you have this larger-than-life persona. You walk into the room and everyone goes, yes.
Yes. I'll take it.
It's true. But I was fascinated by the work you had put into the craft. The fact that you do have an understanding and a taste for classical pieces, that you've done that work, that you're not like some booty girl who found herself in Orange is the New Black.
No, sir.
You know, dancing in a Dr. Whatever video. You know, that you are an actor in the proper sense.
Thank you for saying that.
It was necessary, because we can get all into the hey girl hey, and it's fun, but that's only fun when you acknowledge the work, the road miles, right?
Yes.
That's another thing that they need to know.
Yes.
Is
I
that
will
you
answer your questions because I got a lot to say.
So tell me about the first few miles on that road.
The first few
and how
miles.
You found yourself doing classical work when people probably would have been happy to just have you be hooker number 3 in some movie.
Well, I was never going to be hooker number 3. I wasn't. It just wasn't going to happen unless, no, that wasn't going to happen. They tried it. Nope. I was okay with being patient sometimes. I struggled with it in the beginning because when I came out of Juilliard, I was not booking jobs. And my agents and managers will tell you, at the time I didn't even have a manager, but I just had an agent. I was going to every open call, you hear me? To the point they were like, girl, stop. We're here for a reason. like stop doing that. And I would hear so many no's. And at the time, I was rooming with a beautiful actress that I went to school with. And we weren't similar types, but the world thought we were similar types. Yeah, Jakia Callie Kango. She's a good friend of mine.
Were you both black? Is that
we were both black. We were both from the South. One was a little smaller. I was the chunky one. And I say that in a positive way. And we were both dark-skinned.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you about. Because I know that for women, and I've talked to a lot of women of color, that there is a prejudice against women who are otherwise beautiful, but very dark.
Oh, definitely. We can have that conversation too. But we could. But with this, it was so like people thought we were the same, but we were so different. And that's what, side note, that's why it's so important for me to tell narratives that like really challenge that, you know, who people think we are as women that are dark skinned and curvy and natural hair. But anyway, so we were, thank you. We were roommates, and she was booking everything, y'all. I mean, everything that I went out for, she was booking. So I would be in the house listening to her, go over her lines for Hurt Village, listening to her, go over her lines for Rent. The list goes on, and I felt so defeated. At the time, I was like, well, my career is not going to pop off. I'm going to be just like Viola Davis. It's not going to happen till I'm 40. Like, I don't know what to do. And so the thing I can say was I was persistent, and I did not give up on myself. I knew it was going to happen at some point. And I remember shifting my idea of success and what success meant. And I had a conversation with one of my classmates, Jorge. I will never forget. We were talking on the phone, and I was venting to him about how I was starting to get into this depressive stage of feeling like, dang, I'm not working, man. Like, just struggling as an actor. Nobody will hire me, all this stuff. And he said, Danny, how are you measuring your success? And I was like, well, getting a job, acting, like, duh. And he was like, did you feed yourself today? I said, yeah. He said, did you have the $2 or whatever it is to get on the train? I said, yeah. He said, in your audition, did you do your best? I said, yeah. He said, that's your success right there.
He was right.
He was right. And that shifted my mind.
But, I want to even want to rewind it even a little bit further back. Okay. How did you get into Juilliard? It's like, not like she's talking about, I went to Christopher Columbus High School up in the Bronx. She went to, first, where are you from?
I'm from Greenville, South Carolina.
All right, girl. So how did you find your way to Juilliard?
Oh, man. Okay, let me tell you this little story.
Because I need to hear this.
Because it really is chocolate black girl magic.
First of all, Juilliard is not the Salvation Army, right? You got to get in there if you have some talent.
I will tell you, it started because I went to an art school in South Carolina. Luckily, in South Carolina, they're so big on arts programs, thank God. And I went to this school called the Governor's School for Arts and Humanities. And they only accepted, I graduated in the class of 99. And in the theater department, it was only about like 11 or 12. And I was the only black girl in the class. And at the time, everyone that was coming before me that was of color and a woman was getting into Juilliard. So it was Nicole Bahari, Tiana Paris, Stacey Scott. And so I was like, I don't know what this Juilliard is, but I'm going to try out.
You're working,
and,
man.
And so I really was just this young girl with such a big dream, ready to, see where this would take me. And because I didn't know what Juilliard was, I almost went to a whole nother school that was closer to be closer to family. But I got there, and that place, man, I just felt like they really were trying to nourish and develop great artists and human beings. And so I was like, this definitely is the spot for me. But how I got into Juilliard is I got the foundation, the fundamentals of acting. And I had just a big gust of spirit to jump in and be fearless. And it worked in my favor.
So how did you know? See, I like to work from the present and pedal all the way back and then circle around. So
I like being interviewed by you.
Oh, you're sweet. How did you know that a girl like you from a town where you're from could dare to even want that?
That's a good question, because where I came from was everyone's doing the same thing. Everybody went to the same school. Everybody went to the same church. Everybody was moving the same.
People generally don't leave.
Right.
This is very interesting to me because I'm from here in New York. I'm from the Bronx, but I'll tell you, my three sisters don't even get on the 2 train to come into the city.
Whoa.
They just stay in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I was the first one in my family to get on the 2 train to see what was going on in the city, they called it.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious to know how you've decided to think that there was more beyond the 4 walls your family provided for you.
I think it was that art school, because everybody was so eclectic and different. It was the first time I had experienced different walks of life that was not like my own. And I was so curious about them. And I was like, so that was just the beginning stages of like, there's so much more out there, And so knowing that, having examples of women that looked like me branching out and trying to New York out, I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it, And so I think it was being exposed to people that walked a different lifestyle and having examples of having that permission, sort of.
So when did you see that within you there was something to say and share? Because it's one thing to look at people and go, that looks cute, I think I can do that. And then it's something completely different to feel it rise up in your body and then come out of you.
Yeah, you're right.
So what do you remember?
I do. I remember That's a really great question. I remember when I had gotten into Juilliard, because at first, to be honest, Larry, it was so much about fun. It was just fun to act. You know, that was it. It was like my playground. And I had gotten into Juilliard, so the high school was using me for like all of the donor events now. Like I'm doing all the monologues for that stuff, you know. And so I had chosen this monologue from August Wilson, the piano lesson, and I played Bernice. And I still remember, you ain't taking this piano out of my house. You ain't taking this piano. And I was doing that piece in front of about 20 white women that were probably over the age of 50. And I was like, how the hell are these women going to relate to this story? And they did. And that showed me right there the power of what we do. They came up to me and were just saying all of these things of like, oh my God, I related to it this way and that way. And I was like, whoa, I can reach people I never imagined I could reach with this art form.
It's not even just the art form, it's the person using the art form. It's like when you know, the thing I've always felt about you in watching your work and in knowing you a little bit, and I felt it immediately when I saw you today, first time in a few years, was there's no wall between you and anybody. You don't wear your scars on your face. You wear them differently. You're an approachable every woman.
Thank you. I try to be that way.
And that, you know, and so you could take a piece that a room full of 50-year-old white women wouldn't normally get and make it relatable to them and give it to another black woman, and she would play it with, you know, maybe some anger, some of her stress, and it would be the wall would be between her and her audience.
You're very right. And to that point, I feel like that's when it becomes a gift. I really think that
because it's communication.
I think God puts gifts in certain people. And I think sometimes, to be honest, like a lot of people think, well, maybe my gift is acting, but maybe that's not exactly what your gift is, you know? And I feel like finding that along the way, you know, I think that's what it was. I think that's what it is.
It's a really, I mean, and that's the real success, is recognizing that you have it and just knowing that sometimes the divine plan doesn't match up with your impatience.
Yes.
Right? So
preach.
It's the truth.
Preach.
Because, you know, I mean, I studied to be an actor, and it wasn't going to be my journey as much as I wanted it to be. But everything I learned in those classes, I'm using right here, right now, talking to you.
That's the point. People got to realize that.
You take it and you have to apply it to your actual calling.
Yes. I feel like sometimes, like, what you think you want, it's so much greater. Like, somebody said that to me, too. Is like, you got to really shift how you pray. I don't know if y'all spiritual, but it's really true. Like, and be careful what you pray for, because the thing is, you might be saying, Lord, please, I want to act, put me in this movie, da-da-da-da-da. But that might actually not be what you should be saying. It really probably should be, like, use me to pour into somebody's life. Use me to help change this crazy effed up world we live in. Like, use me. And then I feel like if we shifted that, we would all find our path. We will find what
You'll land in it.
You'll land.
That's what happened. Because I dropped to my knees, Danielle, and said, I know I'm supposed to do something. You just have to show me. And the next day, I got offered a radio show.
Woo! Let's clap for that. Okay.
So, tell me something. When you were offered Orange is the New Black, where were you? What were you doing today? You got the call.
I remember I was actually at my friend, who was also my classmate, Aaron Moten's house. He's in a new Netflix show right now, some weed show. I can't remember the name of it. But he was in that, and at the time he wasn't. We was all struggling actors. And I was sitting on his porch in like I'm making up a number, but like 103rd Street in New York, and sitting there, and my agent called me, and she was like, "You got the job." And I was like, you would think I was really excited, which I was, but I wasn't, because I was only supposed to be on 2 or 3 episodes. And I knew that when I looked at the description, it said I had to be topless. And now, you know, I'm a little country girl from South Carolina, grew up in a church, 24/7 was there. And now you want me to be topless for a shower scene? So that was purposeless. So I was like, So I debated about taking that job, and I went to all the I used all my resources. Every casting director I had went to, I asked them. I went to Kathy Hood, who's in charge of Juilliard. I asked her. I asked my parents, just advice. And my mother said, "No, do not take this job. Don't do it." And my dad was like, "Follow your heart." And I'm a daddy's girl. I love you, mama, but I'm a daddy's girl, and I follow my heart, and I'm so glad I did.
So now I will tell you, because I remember you and I talked for the first season of Orange, and I remember before I saw any of the episodes, I had a little side eye about the show, because I thought, is this going to be like those 70s movies? Remember those y'all too young to remember those 70s movies with Linda Blair, Born Innocent? Google it. It's funny. Where, I thought, is this going to be like an exploitation show? Right?
I was nervous about that.
Is this going to be, like stereotypical black women doing this to stereotypical white women and all this? Is this going to be shenanigans? And then I watched it, and I thought, oh, okay. But were you worried at any point?
Hell yes.
That it was going to be shenanigans?
From the beginning. I didn't add that, but that was a big part of it too. It was like,
so when did you see that Gingy had a greater plan?
I didn't see nothing. It was faith. I didn't see nothing, Larry,
because it wasn't evident in the first few episodes.
The reason I didn't see anything was because I didn't get the script. I did not get the script. I was going off faith.
Oh, hell no, I wouldn't have shown up.
But let me tell you why. Because, and this is, I always say, what is for you will always be for you. You can't even mess that up yourself. And you can't, it's true. I got the job, and 2 of the writers were from Juilliard. Marco Ramirez and Nick Jones. And I got to ask them. I called them up. That's why it's good to be nice to everybody. Called them up, and I said, "Hey, tell me about this script. Tell me about these characters. Are they going to be shenanigans, or are they going to be real people?" And they said, "Look, we promise they're going to be real people." And I trusted them, and I took the job.
So when did you feel at one with this woman? Because that had to happen quickly, otherwise they wouldn't have written more scenes and more episodes for you.
You know what? I will never forget. Our first director was Michael Trim. He directed the first episode and the second, I believe. And it was a moment where Taystee wanted the remote in season 1. And I got the remote, and he said, "You can," it was a scene where he was like, "Just go big, like have fun that you got the remote." And I was like, "Yeah, Taystee!" And he was like, "No, do more." And I was like, "What you mean do more?" Because I've been taught when you were doing TV to chill out and like be small, and like I haven't been taught these things that you're supposed to do. And he said, "No, I want you to get on the table and be as big as you can." And when he told me that, it was freedom in that. And that's when I felt like connected to her. I was like, oh, I can really make her mine. It's what I make of it. I don't have to follow any rule that I thought that I had to follow. I can just breathe life into her, what I think is best. And that was the day I think I found Taystee.
So how have you, I'm looking at some of the questions folks have given us, and we're actually touching on a lot of them as we're talking, but I'm curious to know, one of the questions that came from someone was, how aware were you of what was happening with Poussey before you filmed it?
That was your question? How aware I wasn't aware until we got the script. We don't get the scripts until
Yeah, because how far in advance are you getting pages?
hopefully
Day
4 or 5
before.
days. Hopefully 4 or 5 days. Season 4 and 5, when I was doing Color Purple, a lot of the stuff that I got, the big chunks of stuff, I didn't get until like a day or two before.
So you see that on the page and you think, what?
I think, yes, we're going there. That's what I thought. I was like, yes. Of course, I didn't want to see, Samira leave the show. But the fact that we were really touching on an important subject that mattered, I was like, thank God I get to, in my work, I get to use my voice with what I do. And that I was excited. I was like, this is dope. I rock with Gingy. Like, she's the shit, because it was really happening. It was happening. It was, Philando Castile had passed away. Sandra Bland was gone. Mike Brown was gone. All this stuff was coming up, and we weren't being silent about it, And so it made me very proud to be a part of the show.
How do you reconcile the fact that in 2017 there has to be a degree of activism in your art?
Well, I've always known it has to be that way because of my training. Because, like I said earlier, being a student of Juilliard, they didn't just teach us to be artists. They taught us what kind of human beings we should be. And our dean had written a book called Artist to Citizen. And he talks about in the book how your work goes beyond just a bow or the finishing credits. Your work goes past that. And I've always known that it has to be a bit of activism in there. And I've just been so fortunate to get to do that with my art and have that choice, because when you're first starting out, you think you are going to play hooker number 3. You know what I mean? And that's a very true possibility that you could.
So what's it like to turn on the TV and see this curvy, dark-skinned girl from the South who didn't get all those jobs, watch that ratchet in that apartment, take all the jobs that were supposed to be yours and all that stuff? Some of us are bitter. And, listen. And you turn it on, and there you are.
I'm so grateful. So grateful. So grateful. Oh, man. I know how many people wish they were in my position. And thank you. I am so thankful that I was given this opportunity to share so many different stories, but yet share my own. And to be honest with my journey, to not be afraid to shed a tear. Because I remember when I first started, I was so thankful to be a part of Orange. I cried in every interview. And they told me, stop crying. But it's okay, because my heart is just so full of joy that I get to do what I love. I love it.
It shows in every bit of work you do. I saw you in Color Purple.
Thank you.
Baby. Let's talk about that, because there's a difference between this intense woman you're playing on TV and this other intense woman you're playing on a stage, breathing around all these people.
Yeah.
And there's music, and there's a different kind of history underneath every move she makes.
Oh, yeah.
First time you showed up for rehearsal for Color Purple.
You gonna make me cry again?
Oh, go ahead, girl.
They have
boy.
Tissue here. The first time I showed up for rehearsal, I cried. because that was always the dream. I never had this dream of being famous. I always wanted people to see my work, but I never had this dream of being famous. So to be on Broadway was a bigger dream to me than being on a big Netflix show. And so when I got the opportunity and was working with John Doyle and got to work with Jennifer Hudson and Cynthia Erivo and some of my friends that I've seen work on Broadway, it was a dream come true. And to step into the role of Sophia that Oprah originated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Because I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if y'all know this, but I've talked about it several times. Color Purple is the first Broadway show that I had saw at 15 years old. At 15 years old, first Broadway show. That was the show that inspired me to do what I do. And 10 years later, to actually be in it, that's why I was crying.
And doing it better than the girl who did it 10 years ago. All respect to her, but you turned it out. What did you think when? And I'm not even going to ask if you realized it, because I know you realized it. What did you think? Because to me, it's also more powerful you did Color Purple, because Black women were not allowed to walk through the front door of a theater, right? Let's all remember Miss Dorothy Dandridge walking through the garbage to get to the stage. So when you step through the front door of a Broadway theater to step on the stage and perform, what does that feel like? It's
history. Like you said, I mean, what is it? Somebody out here has to know this quote. It was on a T-shirt. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. That's what that moment is like.
Because to me, I remember I went to see you in Color Purple with a friend of mine, who wonderfully talented girl who happens to be Black, who's a singer, who was studying history, mm-hmm. and she had a moment because she had not seen an all Black production on Broadway, and yeah, it's big.
It's huge. I mean, because, look at now. What's on Broadway now? There's a Black cast.
Yeah. It's not a big deal anymore.
It's not. It comes in waves, and it's unfortunate. That's what we keep saying. It can't be a trend. It's Hamilton, and that's diverse, but there's no shows other than that of color.
No.
So unless y'all know one.
so we're
Lion King been
we're
out
running
for
out
20
of time.
Years. But that's one. This is one.
But Danielle, so we're running out of time. So I want you to look into this crowd. Every single one of these people are watching you. They're loving on you. I want you to take a second to feel their love, and then I want you to give them the best advice you have in your heart right now. But first, breathe. I want everyone to breathe. And I know it sounds really airy, fairy granola, but play along with the old queen for 1 second. Just breathe and be in this moment, because we will never be in this moment together again. This is a wonderful moment. Now tell them what you're feeling.
You are loved. You are loved. Your presence matters. Your spirit matters. Your heart matters. That's what I would say.
Danielle Brooks, if I didn't already love you to the moon and back, I love you even more now. I'm really grateful for this night we got to spend together.
Me too.
And I'm really grateful that you and your people invited me to be here.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
It was a true honor to be invited to be here, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful that you guys spent some time with us today.
Thank you for coming.
You've been in the presence of a really powerful, beautiful woman. And if you take any of her words to heart tonight, you'll find your success, whatever that is. Amen. Thank you guys very much.